Thanks for coming. This talk effectively is for 60 minutes, so we're going to go a bit quicker than usual. But small crowd, so hopefully we can have some interaction as well. My name is Chris. I'm not going to go in depth what I've been doing. So started as a dev, then tech lead, then architect, then I was into the agile development. So started like that, and then became an agile coach for the past 3-4 years. And with me is Rick Jones. Rick?
Hi, so my name is Rickard Jones. My background is 12 years I was a Java developer. I've done various roles like program management, program lead, infrastructure architect, general dog's body, scrum master, agile coach, you name it, I've done it. I've cleaned up after it as well. That's us. Here today we're talking about coaching Scrum teams on vertical story slice and microservices. A bit of a mouthful. The idea about this talk is if you have to coach a team, whether you're a Scrum Master, Agile Coach, or you're in the team, is not really relevant. It's about you have to coach a team on a situation where they come to you with a technical issue, as a lot of teams do because they're IT teams, or they could be in engineering. They come to you with a technical issue and you don't have the answer for that issue. And they say, well, we need to work in an agile way and we need to use this technology, and they don't seem to meld, they don't seem to work together. So the example we're going to use in this case for that is trying to vertical story slice microservices, which are seen as very component based, but vertical story slicing as a concept, as we'll see, is feature based from top to bottom. So how do you meld those two together? And they come to you as the coach or the expert and they say, how do you make that work, Rick? How do you make that work, Chris? And you go, I don't know, because I don't understand microservices, so I don't know. So before we do that, and go into how you do that as a coach, we're going to go over the concepts of agile coaching and microservices so you can get the full context. So unfortunately we're going to have to go over that before you get the context, before we go into how there's coaching styles that coaches do that are right or wrong, that give you that end result of being able to coach a situation where you don't know all the answers. So before we get straight to the answer, we'll go over those context topics so you can understand how it all crashes together and makes it difficult, and then we'll unravel it for you to give you the answers. And we'll also give you an answer to that question of how do you story slice microservices as well, so you don't feel cheated as well. So we're going to give you various different answers so you can select the ones you want or none at all. So it's a bit interactive, this next one. So what we want to see is if the word agile never existed, what would you use instead? So think of one word in a dictionary and feel free to call it out. What word would you use instead? Any ideas?
Flexible.
Flexible, okay, yeah. Excellent, yeah. Any more?
Efficient.
Efficient, yeah.
Adaptive.
Adaptive, any more? Interactive, okay, yeah. Adaptive is very good because apparently when the manifesto guys got together, they wanted to call it adaptive, and then they realised that, this is a story I've heard, that one of them had a company called Adaptive and he'd get all the consultancy business, so they said, no, we're not going to choose that one. So it's very good. So I'm supposed to say you're all correct partially, but I don't do that. I tell it the way it is, so you're all wrong. Mindset is what Agile is all about. So Agile is a mindset, and we'll come on to why this is key to vertical story slicing microservices at the end. So an agile mindset, I can learn anything I want to. When I'm frustrated, I persevere. When I fail, I learn. So at Agile Conference, we know these concepts. Command and control is the opposite of agile mindset. So I'm either good at it or I'm not. So it's quite important. People might give up with a technical issue. When I'm frustrated, well, yeah, I give up, right? So that's what happens. People might give up because of that. So we want an agile mindset so we can try and persevere. But that's what agile is. But why be agile? We be agile, if it's working. Yeah, here we go, it's working. So why be agile? Why have this mindset? Well, we want this mindset for love and money, right? People like money because they get some things, but people also like love. So for an example of something that people love that doesn't make money, Tesla. Have you ever seen Tesla car showroom? There's people crowding around it, they're opening the doors, the cars are gleaming, but Tesla doesn't make any money. But everyone loves Tesla, yeah? And you can lose love. People used to love Uber, they don't love Uber anymore. They don't hate Uber. Starbucks, they used to love Starbucks, hate Starbucks now. But Starbucks makes money. right? So love and money. Well, how do you get love and money? Well, you get love and money, happy people, right? So you're happy customers, right? Who love your stuff, or revenue coming in, cutting costs, not wasting money, and also cost avoidance, not the same as cutting costs. So cost avoidance could be you've got to do an upgrade, you renegotiate with your supplier, and you get it at the same price as you did before. They don't upgrade the price to you. So you're ahead then because of inflation and everything else and general costs. You've avoided an upfront cost, right? Or you migrate your stuff onto the cloud, and you're not having to spend more money to expand if you've got a dynamic microservices architecture. You've avoided costs. The costs are still the same, you're still spending the same money for the cost. So cost avoidance is the one they often forget. So how do you get all of that stuff? Well, productivity. Easy to say that, well, just be productive. Just run off and be productive. Just hurry up and be productive, right? Easy to say, so how do you be productive? Through innovation. So smart ideas. So you'll often see a big CEO, they'll come into a company and they'll say, yeah, you're all great, I'm really impressed with what I've seen with everyone. If only you could just innovate a bit more, that'd be really great. So that's what they always say, which they're sort of right, but they don't tell you how to do it. So how do you innovate? Well, we innovate by creating an environment of safety. We need an environment of safety so we can run experiments, so we can try things out, and we can get a fast feedback loop with the team, the customer, the product owner, everyone's involved. It's fast feedback loop, gets us innovations, makes us more productive, gets us happiness, and all these ways of generating the love and the money. So that's why we be Agile. And the reason we go over this is because I think the Agile community has lost the capability of explaining why we are Agile. Why? What's the benefit? Yeah, and the benefit is you get love and money because it all comes down bound to here. And innovation is important when we come to coaching. When I fail, I learn. That's right. When I fail, I learn. Innovation is important when we come to coaching. So what's coaching? Now, there's a bit of a problem in the Agile community. People think coaching is consultancy, it's training, it's mentoring. It's not. The ICF, who's the biggest coaching body, say it's partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximise their personal and professional potential. Yeah, it's a bit long-winded, that, isn't it? Right? What we're really trying to do is we're trying to ask, when we coach, creative questions that release their creativity by themselves. So they empower themselves. So that leads to self-organising teams, self-innovating teams. Right? They innovate themselves by asking careful questions. Now, Agile Coach does all the other stuff as well, but when it comes to coaching, you want to ask those questions that release their potential, release their options and their ideas. So that's why we have coaching in this context, and we need to coach the team so they become self-organising, so they can run their own experiments, so they can relate to all the rest of those things, which I said, why be Agile? So we've gone over Agile, what Agile is, why we have it. We've gone over coaching, what it is, and why we have it, and why it relates to Agile. Now we need to go over to vertical story slicing.
Right, so very quickly, usually on this slide you would probably expect the nice cake where you have the horizontal slices and the vertical slices. I like this one because it actually shows you the value that you can get. So for example, if you have horizontal slicing, and usually the teams are divided in silos, so you have a back-end team, you have a front-end, the testing team, whatever. So if you start slicing all your stories horizontally, you may end up finishing your stories from a back-end or from the API perspective, but let's say you don't have a front-end. That means you haven't delivered anything end-to-end. So it's not testable because it's only partially delivered. Not only that, it's not releasable. You can't just say, here are a few of the UI scripts. Nothing works though. Yeah? Or you can't say, yeah, I've added 3 tables in the database, but nobody can see it or interact with it because, well, the rest of the components are not there. So vertical slicing is when you go and slice vertically effectively. So at the feature level, you want something delivered end to end, right? So even though it's very small, it does add value to the business. It does add value to the end user, and you actually have everything delivered end to end. So back end, very small piece, fair enough. Front end, you've done the testing, so you can see the value flowing end to end. And then this is testable and potentially releasable. So even though it's small value, the product owner or the business or whoever you want to have it, whatever you call it in your company, can actually choose to release that to production. Yeah? Even though it's small value, it incrementally adds to the product. So vertical slicing versus horizontal. Now, I'm going to talk quickly about microservices for those of you who don't know. I'm not going to go into technical details, but if you imagine a product that you want to deliver, usually you have different functionality in there in terms of features. So in the traditional way, what you do is you have components or you modularize these services, these features, if you like. So you have here, for example, passenger management, notification, payments, driver management. So all of these are different features, different modules within your application, but the traditional way is you wrap them up and you deliver that as a single application, right? So that's the monolithic architecture, if you like. There are pros with this approach, definitely. So it's simpler to develop. So you have a UI and the entire application is being developed through a single UI and a single set of tools, if you like, because it's quite uniform. It's easier to deploy, so you deploy the entire application, fair enough. You test it as one, so you bring up the entire application, you can test it end to end, and you can also scale it, so you can have multiple instances of it. Brilliant. What happens when you start to scale in terms of complexity? So when you start adding more and more features, more and more services, this grows into a beast, right? It's very difficult to test at some point. It's really difficult to release individual functionality without releasing the entire thing. Yeah. So usually you would see applications in that sense. On the Java side, for example, we create a Word file that has pretty much the entire code base, and you just deploy it in a server, in a Jetty server. And then you have different APIs and you have adapters that you have from that monolithic application. Now, if we move to the microservices, each of the functionality here, each of the features, if you like, can become a microservice. So Martin Fowler, so actually this one is not from Martin Fowler, it's from Chris Richardson. So fantastic article on D-Zone, definitely I recommend it. And they had this amazing pictures, if you like, so I borrowed them. But yeah, this is amazing. And what they have there, they say that the way that you split the monolithic application is you create a microservice to do something very small. Yeah. So each feature that you want is a microservice. It's quite succinct on what it's doing. It's very small, very fast, and you can deploy it individually. You can test it end to end, and you have an API that any other microservice can actually call and use that functionality. So effectively, again, you have pros and cons with that one, because you have a lot more information flowing, so you have a lot more communication, if you like, between the services, but you can scale a lot better. You can test it a lot easier, because then you test only the microservice that you want to upgrade, yeah, or you want to release. You can replace the microservice and put another one in its place, assuming that you have the same contract in terms of APIs. So you get a lot more flexibility with microservices. Now, this comes from Martin Fowler and James Lewis. So there is no precise definition of this architectural style in terms of microservices, but there are certain common characteristics. Yeah? And it's around business capability, automated deployment, intelligence in the endpoints, and decentralized control. Fair enough. So let's look at these ones. These are common characteristics for microservices. I'm not going to go through each one of them. I'm going to go quickly through a few, just to get the point. So, componentization via services. The definition that they give for component is that they can individually be replaced and deployed. Yeah, it's a piece of software that individually can be replaced and deployed. So that means that you can break down all your services and functionality into microservices that you can individually deploy. You can test it end to end, and then you have effectively components as services. Yeah. So your entire application is built on different components, small components, and this is a microservice, each component. Products, not projects. Most of the organizations I have worked for, they use projects. So when they want something delivered, if you like, they start a new project, they put a team together, they put everything, the development team and the testers and the BAs and everyone, they deliver the project is done, dismantle on the team. They don't really think about who's going to support that application, who's going to add features, and in general the maintenance and upgrade, if you like, of the application. Now, we need to start thinking in terms of products. You need to have long-lived teams where you see actually something is being owned end-to-end. Yeah? So not only development and design, you also want support and maintenance and upgrade. So that team will actually be responsible for the application once it's in production live with the users. Decentralized governance. So with centralized governance, what you get usually is a quite strict set of rules, if you like, or platforms. So when you have the monolithic application, rarely you'll see people using different technologies to develop modules, right? So you get the architect and they say, okay, we're going to use Java and Spring, and that's pretty much it. You're stuck with certain technologies. With microservices, you don't have that, that restriction. It's decentralized governance, so each service can have its own technology. So you can have a microservice based on .NET, you can have another one on Java, another one on COBOL, it doesn't matter. As long as they can speak to each other, yeah, you can do whatever you like. It's not that we recommend you doing that, yeah, because then you get into other complexities, but you can if you want. So you have decentralized governance. Finally, design for failure. So with microservices, you get more focus on technical excellence. You get more focus on automated testing, and you need to start thinking about when a service fails, how can we get it up again? How it can manage itself. Yeah, you can have multiple instances of a service, so you can have them be behind the load balancer. So if anything goes wrong, all the traffic is going to be redirected. But effectively, when you do microservices, when you actually develop microservices, you design for failure. You know it's going to fail at some point, yeah? So you need to build in that quality that actually detects the errors and restores itself. Now, if a feature requires one or more microservices, the team will deliver it end to end. This slide is taken from the LESS website. And it tries to convey the move from from component teams into feature teams. So there is a transition. So usually you would have a team that is responsible for a single component, and there is where you come with the horizontal slicing. Now, when you want to deliver a feature, which means it may span across microservices, you want the team to own the feature end to end. So you want the team, you want a cross-functional team that can touch each one of the services and deliver the functionality end to end. Yeah?
Okay. So less isn't bad, but we're still developing in a component type mindset. Sure, we have feature teams, but they're still developing across components. So we still really haven't vertically story sliced microservices. So we come up with our own rule, which is that if a microservice has value on its own, then deliver it as product. So we've split them up here. Here, passenger management, it comes from the passenger management, database adapter and the passenger management database. Driver management database, the trip, right? So we have a Uber-style taxi type microservice approach going on here, and each one is a vertical story slice, right? We can get some feature going through each as a microservice, because this is actually a mini system. We have the microservice actually here, but this whole thing end to end can be built as one service. And what we're trying to do here, as an answer of giving this rule out, is if a microservice has values on its own, deliver its product, is getting the developers to go into a mind state of not thinking of components, but trying to think of that end-to-end delivery within a microservice. So we're moving the goalposts a bit. Okay, you have a microservice architecture, it's great, we can plug it in and out, we can use any technology, it has common characteristics which make it difficult for anyone to give a specific answer without getting into the context detail and knowing it, which is why we brought it as an example for our end game, which is how do you coach this, which we're going to go on to in a minute. But we thought we didn't want to cheat you, so we'll give you our view and our answer on it that takes less forward, away from components to feature-based. So developers are still thinking in end-to-end vertical story slice, delivering a feature across each and every microservice if it has value on its own. And of course, as we know, we're looking for value every time we're delivering those user stories. So that's not to cheat you. So moving on.
So what we're going to do is we have a few types of coaches that you may encounter. So you get different Agile coaches coming in, so every one of them has a different style. So we're going to go through some of them, and we will demo very shortly a conversation between the team, if you like, and the coach in a comical way. So you'll see different styles, but at the end we'll try and show you that using powerful questions you can actually drive the team to get to the answer and seek different options. Right? The first one, annoying coach. So you will always find someone who has their own agenda. It doesn't matter what your problem is. It doesn't matter what the team is after. They will find you and they will coach you. So let's go through the role playing.
So you're going to play the team, and I'm going to be.
So I'm going to be the team. Yeah.
That's easy for me to be the annoying coach.
Hello.
Hi there. Are you ready to be coached today?
Sure. Yeah. That's why we're here.
But are you really sure you're ready to be coached today?
Yeah. We've taken some time out for that.
Okay. Before we start, we're going to need a cast iron agreement about how we go through with this coaching engagement, so everyone can agree and understand that it's all about me asking many, many questions, and I'll never give you any answers. Some considerable time later, this contract between the coach and the team is developed. So we come back again.
Yeah, thank you for the contract. So our problem is we have a problem with vertical story slicing microservices, and we don't really know what to do.
Fascinating. I'm curious about your problem. Tell me more.
Well, we can't really see a way forward on that.
Well, I could tell you the answer, but I'm afraid that wouldn't be coaching, and against our cast iron agreement that I've contracted you into, I'm afraid. So we really don't want to go through agreeing and re-agreeing all of that all over again. It's such a waste of time. So bearing in mind we've got a cast iron agreement, I'm sensing an amount of frustration coming from you and the team. So let's delve into, oh wait, sorry, we've run out of time. We'll have to come back to a future coaching agreement. Thanks for your time. So that's the annoying coach. I'm quite good at that. I've done that a few times myself.
Has his own agenda, doesn't care about the team, so yeah, there you have it.
So there's another coaching style.
The arrogant coach. So controversial. The arrogant coach, well, they don't really care about anything. They're quite arrogant. They can coach when they think they can. And they don't bring any value to the team. So pretty much useless coaching, if you like.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay, hello there.
Hi, welcome to my coaching session.
Okay. We have a problem with vertical story slicing microservices.
No problem. Just let me do all the talking. I will now explain to you, the team, how to solve this problem, so it will never be a problem ever again for you. So, with any new problem, the first thing you should do is bring in an expert like myself to solve all your problems. This way you will learn from people with mastery, such as me, then do exactly as they say, and only then will you succeed. In this case, I'm instructing you to treat all the microservices as tasks that make up a feature story. And I know I'm correct from the many times I've seen this before with other technologies, and also all the other teams I've expertly and masterly coached have attained to success this way. So if you do what I say, I don't see why there's any reason why you should, with my expert coaching, not succeed. So as if nothing else, you know, I need to go back to my many other teams and coach them. So I think you should just get on with it now, really.
Okay. Very useful, as you can see.
Yeah, the
just
arrogant
about
coach.
yourself, not adding any
Giving the
value.
answers. Right, so on to the next coach.
Next one is an interesting one, or uninterested. So the uninterested coach. So this is a photo from an actual coaching retreat in Greece. Coaches around the table discuss something very interesting, but this guy over there is not really interested. He's more interested in what's going on back in the pool with a couple. So you can get these kind of coaches as well. They are in to do the job, but not really interested, not really engaged.
I'll be in the pool by now, I wouldn't even be in.
There you have it. Okay. So, hello again.
Welcome, but I don't have much time because you see I have to prepare for my talk at conference.
Okay, we can be fast. So we have a problem with vertical story slicing microservices.
Just hold a sec, I've just got a tweet about conference. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, as I was saying, we are having issues with vertical story slicing microservices.
Hello? Have you really tried to self-organize and coach yourselves before coming to me?
We don't really know how to do that. That's why you're here.
Well, I think you should. I think you should coach yourself and ask yourself some revealing questions. But don't provide any answers to yourself because that's not coaching.
That's not very helpful. But we can try that.
Oh, good attitude. Yeah, take that as an action, and we'll come back to our next session and review it then. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
So, as you can see, the uninterested coach has other interests that they're trying to achieve. It's not very helpful.
And not the team.
Yeah. So now we have the Agile Coach, the way we hope it should be. So this picture is from a comic called Batman and the Outsiders, and it's an interesting comic because Batman decides to leave the big Justice League team and form a team with these outsiders. They're all individuals, they're all dysfunctional, no one looked after them, but they've got all the superpowers, and Batman doesn't have any powers. Right? So they are the super team, and he coaches them to be as good as the Justice League, who have all the big names in them, like Superman and Wonder Woman and Flash. These are just the lesser heroes that you never hear about. And he takes them as a dysfunctional group of people, helps them come together, and coaches them to be a self-organising team, to the extent that the comic gets renamed from Batman and the Outsiders to the Outsiders, because Batman is no longer needed. Batman fades into the background and Batman is gone for good. Now this is unusual in the coaching community because I hear a lot of Agile coaches, no, we should just fade and then come back if we're needed. Well, I don't see that as success, so I'm going to make a controversial statement. I'm going to say the coach hasn't completed their mission of coaching the team to be self-organising if they're still needed around in any shape or form, right? We got our self-organising team here, I've coached them, they're an elite team, but I'm still here. No, right? Batman has to go, and that's the sign of success, right? And they're the ones with the superpowers. The coach doesn't have the superpowers. He or she needs to coach them as a Scrum Master role, as a coach, or even a person in the team to unlock their power as a team together. Dysfunctional separately, together they are a team. So we go through a scenario like that.
Okay, hello there.
Welcome, are we okay to do a session today?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a problem. We're trying to do vertical story slicing microservices.
Okay, sounds very interesting. Could you possibly share some of the more detail and specifics going into that?
Yeah,
problem?
so what's going on is we have microservices and we have the need to combine them to deliver a feature. So we cannot see how we can slice that.
Okay, I can see what you're saying. So just to reflect, you say that you require multiple microservices to deliver a feature, and they need to be sliced. What optionalities and things have you tried so far, if any?
So we did try to slice them, and it seems to have worked as required.
Yeah.
But we're not quite sure that the slicing was done properly.
Okay. So why do you feel it wasn't quite done correctly in the way you wanted?
Well, because we haven't done it before, and now that we're getting bigger user cases within the microservices architecture, we're not quite sure if it's going to go well.
Okay, so when you haven't done it before and you've done it for those bigger use cases, what options have you looked at for the bigger use cases where it's been more problematic?
So we thought of splitting a user story to have 2 microservices rather than one.
Right.
And then see how we can do that.
So you're splitting the microservices, the bigger ones, to even
the
smaller.
user story, yeah.
Even smaller.
So
okay.
the user story to go across 2 microservices.
Okay, it's an architectural delivery. Okay, so you thought of that, but would you be willing to commit to try that as an experiment to see what the outcome was?
We can try it on the following sprint and see how it goes.
Okay, so let's try that. It might not succeed. Yeah, but possibly we could get some learnings from that for the next time if it doesn't succeed, and if it succeeds we can go forward. So I'll be very interested to see at our next session how that goes.
Sounds fair.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. So that obviously was a quick session. In a normal coaching session, we'd probably be having an hour for that, yeah? So not just 2 minutes.
Yeah, you go through the user stories, you actually help them to slice the user story across multiple services and see which people are required in order to deliver that and how they can do it themselves.
Yeah, and we've not gone into any technology there to ask those questions, right? And the answers have come out of those people in the team. So how do you do that, right? So it's all very well saying that. So we present a tool that we use, which is the arc of a coaching conversation. This is from a lady, Sue Johnson. It's free Creative Commons. And it's what we did very quickly in the presentation. You build rapport, you be present, you identify the issues, we clarify, I reflected, let me reflect that back to you. Right, we approach the action, right, we're asking questions, who, what, where else, what else, how. We design the action with the team, they design the action, and we support the action afterwards. And really, as a rule, you don't want to arrive here too soon. We did it too soon on this conversation because it's a presentation, we're running out of time. In the usual coaching session, we try and avoid reaching there too soon because we want them to learn how to come out with the answers and develop themselves. So often coaches will say, yeah, just do it like this, and then they don't give you an approach to do it. We're providing you with an approach and a tool that you can use to get your coaching conversation going. You can use it for any coaching conversation. It doesn't have to be for an agile or technical one. You can use it for any of them. So the proof in the pudding is in the eating. So we have case study. So
coaching multiple teams to developing solutions in their own time. And we've done that in an insurance company. So we have a few things. Self-education and training, quite critical. If people are going to self-organize and be able to deliver something end-to-end, they need to go and train themselves, right? You provide the initial training, if it is for any Agile framework or about agility and how they can work in better ways, they need to educate themselves. They need to put the effort in. You can't solve the problem for them, right? They need to become a team. They need to self-educate and train themselves. Go to the community for help. Larger organizations, I've seen, they create communities of practices, they create small user groups, they have lean coffees, they have all sorts of things where the community can get together and be there to help you. So do presentations, go out there, look at the floor and see who is developing what, how they're solving problems. Be present and start networking, because through the community you can get massive help. Most probably someone else have solved the problem you're trying to solve before you. So don't go and reinvent the wheel, go and search the community for help, whether it's within the company or outside. Bring in an expert. So you will eventually reach a point where you can't go further. That's where the Agile Coach comes in, right? And by expert, you can have the Agile Coach or you can have a technical expert to get you to kiss you over the edge, if you like, right? So you're at the tipping point where you kind of know, yeah, I've reached my limit, but I don't know what to do next. The expert will actually help you. Again, they will help you evolve and grow rather than come in, solve the problem and be out, because then you won't be able to support it. So you're going to get to the same situation where, oh yeah, I've reached again the tipping point, but I don't know what to do. Don't worry, but don't be idle. Yeah, so no need to stress about it. You can't go crazy about, as we said earlier, you need to be innovative, right? Nobody can be innovative if you push them for it and you say, yeah, you have 10 minutes now. Come on, innovate. It doesn't happen like that. But don't be idle. Always look out for new things, right? You can see every day, especially in technology, you get new articles on how they can solve a problem better, faster, in a more elegant way, if you like. The same happens with Agile as well, right? Oh, a lot of people have tried a different way of doing retrospectives or a different way of splitting user stories, whatever. You will always find now with the internet vast amount of information. So just don't be idle. Be there, be present. Spikes, experiment. Run what-if scenarios, right? You always need to experiment and see if something works. What something works for one team probably does not work for another team. And that's where the Agile Coach comes in. They're not there to offer a solution. I can tell you what I've done in the previous 300 companies I've worked for, yeah, and it has worked there, but that doesn't guarantee it will work for you. Which means, do spikes. Spend time to experiment in a safe environment and prove what works for your team.
And all those activities we did in a real insurance company, right?
Yeah.
And they all worked, right? And that's the point. And here's the better thing. It wasn't the same insurance company. I did it in one insurance company and he did it in a different one. So that's the point. They all work if you have the focus and the time with the team. It's not free. You have to put in an investment to get a return out.
Yeah. And it's multiple distributed teams as well.
Yeah.
So it does work, you just need to put the effort in.
And so the takeaways for this session is what is Agile, what is coaching, how to slice microservices. We presented two slicing rules, one that's Lahmann's and one that's ours. The coaching styles, a tool that you can use for coaching, the case study results, and the results were the teams were optimized into solving and organizing themselves, self-organizing for any technology domain. And as coaches, we were able to coach them on any technological issue, even when we didn't understand the domain. So in my case, it was COBOL mainframes. I don't understand COBOL mainframes, and I was able to coach them on it. Right? So we're giving you a lot here. You can choose to take and leave what you want. Questions? No?
How, just thinking about going back to the monolith and the microservices.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just less question about what we talked here, but maybe more about your experiences of going from monolith to microservices and anything.
So how do you go about
would be good recommendations or experience? I know it's like not everything works for every company, but because ours are going from, they're still quite monolithic in their like architecture, where our team's trying to make Kairos and go into microservices and work better for us. I hopefully then eventually, but they're not quite solving it, but they're doing it gradually.
Okay.
So is the question how to transition?
Yeah, kind of how to transition your experience.
So let's say you get you've got your monolithic application system, and let's say you get a new set of user stories, say 10 or whatever, to create a feature, right, on your backlog. Yeah. You could take those user stories, and instead of building them into your monolithic application, you could look at the option of building them as a microservice and connecting that to your monolithic application.
Okay.
So now,
so using it as a transition.
Yes.
As a way to transition.
And could you see yourself in your context domain of how you could do that? It might be a bit of work, but could you see how that's technically possible?
Definitely.
Definitely, yeah?
Yeah.
Especially if it's something like new functionality that you want to introduce. That's the best candidate to get a new microservice.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So
as a proof to be able to do it even forward.
So you see what I did there? I didn't ask you about the technology. I could do because I'm technical, but I didn't.
I would be able to tell you anyway.
Yeah. Right. So you go. All I did was, I said, look at the options. Right. I did steer you a bit, which was a bit naughty. So I put on a bit of consultancy hat there. But I didn't talk the technology. I just asked you questions, and now you have got the idea in your head that that's possible. And you're telling me you don't have the technical know-how, so now you can go away to technical teams and say, is that possible? Right? Technically. Yeah. Leave them to decide how it is possible. Yeah. But now you've got optionality to move to a microservices architecture or any approach you want, right? And the tradition is as you're adding stuff to it, do it in the new way rather than the old way. This, you know.
The extreme example is assuming that you already have the functionality and you're just adding something very small. Yeah, it may look like a massive overhead that you're going to create a microservice for that, just for the tiny functionality. But then once you create a skeleton, you can start migrating functionality from the monolith there.
Yeah, sure.
So then you can evidence effectively how faster it is to test that, how faster it is to deploy it. And at the end of the day, you can throw it away and do something else.
It's an experiment.
Yeah, sure.
Any more questions? Yeah.
Go for it.
It's fine. Agile coaches like Arrogant who are a lot of fluff, right?
Mm.
How long before they ruin their names?
How long we pull their rooms? Well, so here's the thing, right? Unfortunately, because of the command and control side, eventually command and control are pushed into a corner, which is what has happened really. That we've really had the big uptick in agile coaching and the whole agile movement is because command and control have failed so much now they've been pushed into a corner. They've tried Lean, they've tried Six Sigma, they've tried Prince 2, they've gone round and round on different versions of those again and again and again. That eventually are like, oh, we've got to try agile now, right? And the problem is they think it's methodology and not a mindset. So that's why we get this friction when we do on the transformations. So what happened is there's still so many, to answer your question, command and control people out there that at the moment the arrogant agile coaches are the ones, mostly we see the ones who are annoying and don't really help, right? Most of the types are like that actually that I've experienced. They move on to their next sucker client, right? Mm-hmm. That's what's happening at the moment. They're moving around.
After actually, because that's the client's.
Yeah, and there's if you want to go into actually the real abhorrent behaviour that I'm seeing is a lot of the agile coaches are not transparent with their clients, and they're not transparent in the fact of when I get bored of you, I'm going to leave to the next sexy client, right? A lot of them do that, right? And they should just be honest and say, listen, I'm going to do what I can, but I won't be around forever. But they portray this thing, I'm here to help you, I can help you do everything, I'm going to coach your teams, I can give you consultancy as well under my Agile Coaching umbrella, I'm right here with you, I'm present, right? But it's not true, one day they will leave. So what the client should do is they should ask the Agile Coach, right, I need you to coach my teams to become self-organising because I know one day you'll be gone, right? And that's what the clients should do, but they don't know that, and so that's where I find abhorrent behaviour. They're not being truly transparent and saying, one day we're going to be gone, So that's, if you want, where the misbehaviour is going on, I think that's where it is. And how these people are going to ruin their name, I don't think so. I think they're going to build it up because they're going to have a big, long, impressive client list as the next, unfortunately, command and control.
Agile Coach name.
There's a lot of names which we've caught out in email as well, so they can't deny it. Big names where their behaviour is not right, shall we say, and ruin their names, no, because they'll go on to the next command and control client who's been pushed into a corner and finally has to go agile, and they'll get that on their CV. So it's going to go on for quite some time, and it's also going to go on for some time because a lot of the agile transformations fail because they do not address mindset and culture. They think it's methodology and process. So what happens is they get an uptick, they get an increase in business agility, and they think that uptick is going to be linear, right? Or it's going to be wiggly, but it's going to be linear in the end. And it goes up, and then it just levels out. And then actually goes down a bit because people leave, and then they bring it up again and it just levels out. And they go, well, it hasn't really succeeded because I was promised this, and I just got that.
So Agile doesn't work.
That's what they say, right? Now let's go back to Six Sigma and Lean. And in 10 years' time, right, the company's going agile. I've seen, I don't know if the coaches weren't good or not, but there was a fashion retailer where the coaches came back in like 2 or 3 years later, the same coaches. So you have to ask the question, was their transformation successful? I think they're good coaches, actually. I think the client didn't understand what it is they really wanted, and what they wanted was self-organising, self-maintaining, self-sufficient teams, and the coach should have coached that mindset into them. Yeah?
Got one more side to this.
Yep.
So big bank comes to you, the coach says, we want to implement Agile, want your help as a coach, and then you start suggesting. This is more like a open-ended question.
This is a transformation question, right? So transformation.
Yeah.
So what is our approach to transformation? We did another talk on
Hold
this.
on.
Oh, sorry.
They tell you,
Yeah.
we want to change this and that. You discuss with them your opinions and everything.
Yeah.
And say, no, we're not going to do this. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. We're going to do it our way.
Yeah.
Here's $1,000 a day.
$1,000 a day. Yeah.
So you know this is doomed to fail. It's doomed to fail because
Yeah.
you know they implement their own rules.
So
but
would you sell your soul for the silver, right? So if we're honest, it depends on the situation. If you ain't got a job, you say, yeah. Or if you want to buy a new house, you go, yeah. But if I am doing reasonably okay, I would probably say no. And if we're being truthful, here's the reason why. It's because you get the money, but after they're not stupid. After 6 months, right, or 9 months at the worst, probably actually it's after 6 months, they'll realise that they're not going to get what they want, because they didn't realise what they wanted in the first place, and they're trying an experiment with you. So get you in, they don't realise it's an experiment, you start doing your stuff, and they say, oh no, it's not working, and you say, well, that's what you wanted, I recommended against it, but I'm doing what you wanted. And they say, oh no, but we meant something else. And what they really mean is, we've now seen and inspected and adapted, and now we mean this, yeah? And then you go, well, I can do that, and some of the coaches survive and some of them get kicked out. But I think a lot of them get kicked out. So why would I want to enter into a situation where it's going to end badly? Yeah, right. Even though it's a lot of money, the only reason I would want to do that is if I really needed the money, because we're living in a material society. If I didn't really need the money and I was all right, I would say 95% of the time, because I never say 100%, that I would not enter into that. And I've been given that. So I can give an example. I was given a role for €1,400 a day, working for a bank, and they were paying my expenses to go to Switzerland and to Malaysia, and I said no because they didn't understand what they really wanted, and I knew it would end in tears, and why would I want to put myself through that?
You walk yourself into a failed transformation, if you like. So if you know that, and they're not willing to accept your proposal, or at least be flexible enough to experiment and then adapt, then what's the point of getting in? Because then you won't get results. People are going to get frustrated because you're trying to make a change that they're not ready for, and then the management is going to get frustrated because they're not getting what they wanted. So it's a very difficult situation. And if you have more gigs, well, you go for the ones that you really want.
What about trying to reach a compromise, saying something like, okay, if you really want to do it your way, I'm going to stick around for a month or so, let's say, and after a month you realize that your way is not the right way, start listening to me.
Right, so what you're doing there is, that's fine, and Agile Coaches do that, and Scrum Masters and whoever.
Is it ethical?
they run, as long as you're transparent, I think it's ethical. You have to be totally transparent. That's my point about how the Agile Coaches don't reveal that they will leave or they will get bored. They're not transparent with people, and that's the problem. You have to be totally transparent and say, listen, I don't think what you're doing is right. I could take your money. I will take your money, or I won't take your money because of this reason, right? And unfortunately, clients don't do good feedback. They don't say, well, why won't you take my money? It's lots of money. Why won't you take it? Yes, other people would take it. Why won't you take it? It's because that will start another conversation where you go, well, I think you're going to fail, right? But you can succeed this way, and they might not agree, but at least you've been transparent and you've educated them. But they don't do that, and that's the bit that I think is missing at the moment. We need that feedback loop of when Agile people say no. There's a very top big Agile coach in the UK. He's actually a certified Scrum trainer, and he's stated many times that he's been offered $2 million to run a whole big Agile transformation for a corporation, and they said exactly what you said, you've got to run it our way, and he said no, right? And he says he bitterly regrets it because he needs the money now.
But usually what you see with the pictures, in my experience, is you see half of the picture. So you go in as a coach, and then you can be transparent, and they'll say, you'll do it my way. Actually, they say, you'll do it my way. And then you go like, okay, we can try. But then when you try, you see so much bureaucracy and so many blockers that then they go like, why haven't you made any changes? I'm like, well, you are blocking me. The same people that got me in, you're blocking me from the change. So, not quite sure what you want me to do.
It's hard, it's tough, right? Because you're changing mindset, right? And you're changing culture of many people at the same time. And you're also trying to deliver a new way of working. And you're also trying to get business agility through the system. There's all these complexities going on. And if you see a lot of the talks at this conference and other conference, they'll say, let's talk about the complexity domain and how we deal with it. So that's just the domain of work. And then you've got all these complexities of how you do the work and people's mindsets. So that's why it's tough. So that's why we're getting a lot of friction and not much movement for something that's supposed to be agile and give a lot of throughput, right? The mindset has to change, and that's a different talk because that talks about culture and mindset and how you do it. And we have some controversial opinions on that one. Okay, but any questions about coaching technological teams?
About the presentation?
No? Okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.